she risked her life to save a baby elephant from poachers. In the dense jungles of Africa, where the battle for survival plays out between humans and wildlife, a woman's courage defied the odds to rescue a baby elephant from the jaws of death. The jungle, home to hundreds of animal species, has long been under threat from poachers seeking to profit from the destruction of the natural world. For one woman, the untamed beauty of this place was her calling, and she would not stand by while this young elephant faced an uncertain future. This is the incredible story of how one woman risked her life to save a baby elephant, an animal whose plight might have been forgotten were it not for her heroic actions. The call of the wild. Her name was Dr. Amina Mwangi, a renowned conservationist and wildlife biologist who had dedicated her life to protecting the animals of Africa. For years, Dr. Mwangi had been on the front lines of conservation, studying the behavior of elephants, tracking their movements, and advocating for their protection in the face of rising poaching and habitat loss. She was no stranger to the dangers posed by poachers, having witnessed firsthand the ruthless killing of elephants for their tusks. The landscape she roamed was lush, with dense foliage, tall grass, and the occasional waterhole that attracted wildlife. She had made a home for herself in this part of the world, setting up camp deep within the jungle where few outsiders dared to venture. Her job was not only to observe and learn about the elephant herds, but to ensure they were not at risk from human encroachment. It was one fateful morning, while Dr. Mwangi was conducting her usual patrol through the jungle, that she stumbled upon a scene she would never forget. The air was thick with the sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves, but something felt amiss. The usual cacophony of life in the jungle seemed muffled, like a shadow had descended. A heart-stopping discovery. Dr. Mwangi was scanning the horizon when a subtle shift in the atmosphere caught her attention. She quickly turned and spotted the telltale signs of human activity: broken branches, disturbed soil, and the unmistakable scent of fresh dirt, an indication that someone had recently passed through. Her instincts kicked in. Poachers. Her heart raced as she followed the trail, keeping a low profile, knowing that the poachers could still be nearby. She moved with silent precision, alert to every snap of a twig beneath her boots. Her training as a wildlife biologist had prepared her for moments like this, but no amount of training could have fully prepared her for what she was about to find. After what felt like hours of cautious tracking, she reached a small clearing. There, in the middle of it, were two men, crouched down beside a trap that had been set for an unsuspecting animal. The poachers were preparing for their next kill, and it seemed they had been targeting elephants. Dr. Mwangi's breath caught in her throat when her eyes followed the line of the trap. And there, in the center of it all, was a baby elephant, no more than 3 years old. Its eyes were wide with fear, and it was struggling to free itself from the metal snare around its leg. Its tiny body trembled, and the sound of its desperate cries echoed through the jungle. The sight was enough to break anyone's heart, but for Dr. Mwangi, it was a call to action. Risking everything. Without thinking, Dr. Mwangi sprang into action. She had no time to lose. Every second was crucial. She moved quietly, making her way toward the baby elephant, trying not to alert the poachers to her presence. The jungle seemed to hold its breath as she neared her goal. The elephant was so close now, and with each step, Dr. Mwangi's resolve hardened. She had faced danger before, but this moment was different. This was not just about protecting an elephant. It was about saving a life that was vulnerable and innocent. Her first priority was to ensure the poachers did not spot her. As she crouched down, Dr. Mwangi noticed the snare was deeply embedded in the elephant's leg, and it was clear that it had been there for a while. Blood oozed from the wound, and the pain was evident in the baby's eyes. She had no medical supplies on hand, but she did have her knowledge and quick thinking. Her heart pounded in her chest as she used all her strength to gently untangle the snare, trying not to make any noise. The baby elephant whimpered in pain, but it didn't resist, almost as if it knew that Dr. Mwangi was trying to help. With the snare finally removed, the baby elephant stumbled on its injured leg, clearly weak and struggling to stand. But the poachers were still nearby, and there was no time to waste. Dr. Mwangi had to get the baby elephant to safety before they returned. With the baby in tow, she made a split-second decision. She would hide the elephant deep within the jungle, far from the reach of the poachers. She knew that if the poachers realized what had happened, they would stop at nothing to find and kill the elephant. A dangerous journey. Carrying the young elephant was no easy task. The animal, though small, weighed far more than Dr. Mwangi had anticipated. She moved with purpose, navigating the thick underbrush, constantly looking over her shoulder to ensure the poachers hadn't seen her. The heat was stifling, and sweat dripped down her face as she fought through the dense foliage. She had a destination in mind, the heart of the jungle, where she knew there was a hidden waterhole that elephants often frequented. It was a safe place, far away from human eyes, where the baby elephant could recover. The journey was treacherous. Wild animals, unfamiliar with human presence, lurked in the shadows, and Dr. Mwangi had to be cautious. Every snap of a branch sent her heart racing, but she pressed on, determined to save the baby elephant. After hours of navigating the thick jungle, she finally arrived at the waterhole. The baby elephant, exhausted and trembling, took a tentative drink from the water's edge, its eyes filled with a mixture of fear and relief. Dr. Mwangi allowed herself a moment to breathe, knowing that for now the baby was safe. But the hardest part was still to come. The elephant herd. The next day, after resting in the cool shade of the jungle, Dr. Mwangi knew she had to find a way to reunite the baby elephant with its herd. While she had successfully hidden the animal, it could not remain alone in the jungle for long. Elephants are highly social creatures, and the baby needed the protection and guidance of its family. Dr. Mwangi began tracking the movements of the elephant herds in the region. She had spent years studying their migration patterns, and she knew that a herd would pass through the area soon. She could only hope that the baby would be able to communicate with the herd and that they would accept it. Days passed, and Dr. Mwangi grew more anxious. The jungle was an unpredictable place, and there was no guarantee that the herd would be near the waterhole at the right time. But just as hope was beginning to fade, she heard the unmistakable sound of trumpeting in the distance. Her heart leaped in her chest. She quickly gathered her belongings and rushed to the sound, moving with haste but still careful not to startle the elephants. When she arrived at the clearing, she saw them, an entire herd of elephants, their massive forms moving through the dense jungle. The baby elephant, having heard the calls, ran toward them with a sense of urgency. As the baby approached the herd, one of the older females turned and let out a low rumble. The baby hesitated for a moment, but then moved closer. To Dr. Mwangi's amazement, the herd accepted the baby without hesitation. The older female, likely the matriarch, gently touched the baby with her trunk, guiding it back into the fold. It was a moment of pure magic, a reminder that despite the challenges, nature still held a deep sense of connection and compassion, a promise to protect. Dr. Mwangi watched from a distance as the baby elephant was welcomed back into the fold, safe with its family. The poachers had been defeated, and the elephant would live to see another day. But the journey wasn't over. Dr. Mwangi knew that the fight to protect these magnificent animals would never end. She would continue her work, relentlessly pushing for the preservation of wildlife and advocating for stricter laws against poaching. For Dr. Mwangi, saving the baby elephant was more than a personal triumph. It was a victory for all the animals who called the jungle home. Her actions reminded the world that the fight for wildlife is not just about saving individual animals, but about preserving the delicate balance of nature itself. As she stood in the jungle, watching the herd disappear into the horizon, Dr. Mwangi made a silent vow. She would continue to risk everything to protect the creatures that had no voice, ensuring their survival for generations to come. The battle against poaching and destruction was far from over, but this story would stand as a testament to the power of one person's courage and the unbreakable bond between a woman and the wild creatures she vowed to protect. This is a tale of heroism and dedication, a reminder of the sacrifices made by individuals like Dr. Mwangi, who risk their lives every day to protect the most vulnerable creatures on our planet. Through the lens of one courageous act, we are reminded that the jungle is not just a place of beauty and mystery, but also a battleground where the forces of good and evil collide. The weight of responsibility. For Dr. Amina Mwangi, the battle was never just about the animals. Baby elephant was only one of many animals at risk. The poaching rings in the region were becoming increasingly brazen, with new methods of deception and cruelty emerging almost daily. Dr. Mwangi knew that this victory, this one life saved, was only a temporary reprieve in an ongoing battle. She had been able to protect this elephant, but the broader picture was far more troubling. For every elephant she saved, there were countless others who would never see the safety of the jungle. It wasn't just the poachers she had to contend with. The encroachment of human development was rapidly shrinking the habitats of these animals. Each year, new roads, settlements, and farms cut through the heart of the wild, leaving fragmented pieces of land for the elephants and other wildlife to survive in. It was a race against time, one she had been running for years. The discovery of the Poachers Network. Despite the initial success in saving the baby elephant, Dr. Mwangi couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that had settled deep in her stomach. The poachers she had encountered that day were only the tip of a much larger iceberg. She had learned enough about their operations to know that this wasn't an isolated event. These poachers weren't just targeting elephants. They were taking all kinds of wildlife, from rhinos to lions, and even the rarest species that were disappearing faster than anyone had anticipated. The next morning, Dr. Mwangi returned to her camp and immediately started reviewing her field notes. She had made a habit of documenting every encounter, every clue, and every piece of evidence that might lead her to the root of the problem. The trap that had ensnared the baby elephant was unlike anything she had seen before. It was made of metal, more advanced than the simple snares used by poachers in the past. Whoever had set the trap had access to resources and knew what they were doing. She decided it was time to go further. Her relationship with the local authorities had been strained in the past. While many of the park rangers and officials supported her work, there were always whispers of corruption within the system. Some were too willing to look the other way when it came to illegal activities, especially when money was involved. Dr. Mwangi had learned long ago to rely on her instincts and her own research, which often led her to uncover the true culprits hiding behind layers of deceit. Armed with her field notes, photographs, and even a few samples from the traps, Dr. Mwangi decided to venture deeper into the jungle, alone once again. She was convinced that the poachers' network ran deeper than just one isolated group. She suspected that they had established supply chains, buyers and sellers, stretching across borders. A tense encounter. Days passed and Dr. Mwangi found herself following a trail that seemed to get colder with every step. She was deep within a territory known to be under the control of a notorious poacher syndicate, one that had evaded capture for years. While the terrain was challenging, Dr. Mwangi's years of experience in the jungle made her an expert at tracking even the most subtle signs of human activity. One evening, while making camp near an old watering hole, she noticed something strange, a faint sound in the distance. Her instincts kicked in. It wasn't the usual sound of animals moving through the jungle. It was something else, a group of people traveling through the night. Dr. Mwangi's heart skipped a beat. She quickly packed her things, moving quietly through the underbrush. She could hear their voices now, muffled but unmistakable. Rough, guttural tones that confirmed her worst fear. Poachers. There were at least 5 of them, and they were discussing their next move. Dr. Mwangi's saying it. They started to close in, and Dr. Mwangi knew she didn't have much time left. With a sudden burst of energy, she turned and sprinted into the jungle, her legs pumping hard beneath her as the poachers shouted after her. For what felt like an eternity, Dr. Mwangi ran, dodging branches, leaping over rocks, and weaving through the thick undergrowth. The sounds of the poachers' pursuit grew fainter, but she didn't stop until she had reached a small clearing. She collapsed to the ground, panting, her heart still racing. The final confrontation. The next day, Dr. Mwangi was determined to finish what she had started. With the poachers temporarily thrown off her trail, she moved quickly, reaching the local ranger station to hand over the evidence she had gathered. In the weeks that followed, the authorities launched an operation to take down the poaching network. It wasn't easy. The poachers were well connected, and their operations spanned vast distances. But with Dr. Mwangi's help and the evidence she had gathered, they were finally able to dismantle the network. The baby elephant, safe with its herd, had been the spark that ignited this effort. And for Dr. Mwangi, knowing that one life had been saved made every risk, every danger worth it. The battle wasn't over, but the first victory had been won. Dr. Mwangi continued her work, more determined than ever. With each day, the jungle seemed a little safer, and the elephants a little less vulnerable. Her story was one of countless others, small acts of courage that together could change the world. But for now, she knew that no matter how hard the fight, there was still hope for the wild.